So are you saying that you will bring forward amendments rather than leaving it to Mr Johnson to make the bill effective and have the confidence of the government? Are you going to do that?
I have said to Mr Johnson we will work with him on his members' bill.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be any more definitive than that today, Mr Rennie, because of course these would be discussions we would have at stage 2, but I've said we will work with him and we've had a very positive working relationship thus far, so I hope that provides the member with some reassurance.
The reporting mechanisms. So you've indicated that many of the instances so far are in specialist settings or ELC settings.
Yeah.
But there are different reporting mechanisms with the care inspector in one regard and others elsewhere. Are you concerned about the different routes for reporting? Is that something that's in your mind? Tell us a bit more about that.
Yes, I have written to committee on this. So Mr Johnson's approach is quite focused on education settings. I completely understand why he's done that, which is not to take away from the other approaches that are used in other settings. We think there's a way in which they can complement each other, and that's been the approach that we suggest should work. But there are issues at the current time in terms of the policy memorandum and why the bill obviously needs independent and these grant aided schools to report restraint to the Education Authority in which they are situated. We think that that is something that needs to be looked at. There are issues there in relation to the role of the inspectorate. So there have been an ask that the inspectorate is involved in national reporting. Well, we go to the financial memorandum in that regard. Is this going to drive more costs? So these issues need to be flushed out, to my mind, at part of stage 2 deliberations. I don't think they're insurmountable, though.
So do you support Pauline Stephen from the GTCS when she's indicated that, although she's supportive of this bill, this should lead perhaps to putting the rest of safeguarding on a statutory footing as well? Do you support that?
So, yeah, I read Pauline's evidence and she made the point around about child protection services, which I think I mentioned previously, because this would create this guidance being in a statutory footing and then behind it a child protection service and systems that actually are not provided for in the same way. I think she raises a very important point. If we were to do that, as Pauline has suggested, or I think she said if she ran the world, that's how she would do it, the bill would become something that it is not at the current time. It would be a far more extensive piece of legislation. And when we talk about legislative timescales, we're all aware how close we are now to dissolution, I suspect that that might become a much more unwieldy piece of legislation, which is not to say it's not important, because I think in principle I would agree with her that there is an opportunity to look across the piece. But this bill is quite focused at the current time. So I'm sure these are points that you will want to put to Mr Johnson around about his views on it. My view is it's something we should look at. I'm not necessarily convinced that the focus of this bill at the current time lends itself to it. But if Parliament decides that's where we want to go, then of course that's in the gift of Parliament.